Hello again. I'd like to begin this episode by thanking everyone who chooses to follow this channel for giving me the opportunity to share these universal teachings. I fully understand that there's a great deal to absorb and to think about in each episode. And I'm also well aware that I'm not the most polished of presenters. But I hope you're able to discover some interesting information that has meaning in your life as it has in mine. Zed once told me, words carry energy. And I know that to be absolutely true. So may I suggest that in your quiet times, when you sit to meditate, just think of the words and sense the energy of love that they bring. Back in episode 1, I told you about my grandson's question. Do you remember? What's the point of being alive if you're just going to die? I probably replied along the lines that it wouldn't make much sense if this was the only life we have. And with children, I generally liken this to taking off a worn-out overcoat and putting on a new one. This idea of a kind of recycling process is simple enough for a child, but what Christian was also asking was, what's the point of it? Well, we may conclude that it's a learning process, and that's right. But what's the objective for all that learning? Could the objective be to become at one with our higher self? Would that not bring ultimate realization that we are spiritual beings and this present earthly life is only one part of a spiritual journey? Would that not be an experience of pure love and awareness? Remember too that life with the higher self is like a library of everything we need to know for this lifetime. It has total awareness of our previous experiences, the reason for them, and the purpose for our joys and woes at every moment. But also be aware that our higher self exists within whatever level or dimension it has achieved so far. And the journey will continue until the final conclusion, the ultimate point of that oneness with the creative force itself. That's a bit more for you to digest. Now, here's another important question for you. Do animals, apart from human beings, have a higher self? This is what the Zed Teachings have to say on the subject. No higher self exists within the mineral and plant worlds. Their manifestation as energy moves within the level of one. Animals move within the levels of 1 and 2. They evolve through earth time, but do not relate to the higher entity levels, as Homo sapiens does. Many of you try to assume that the animal kingdom is an earlier concept of man's evolution, that man evolved through the various stages, mineral, plant, animal, but this is not so. It was not until the advent of Homo sapiens that the higher self moved from universal awareness and power for the experience of learning as we mean it within you now. Up to that point, man was the same as the animal kingdom. So, how did Homo sapiens evolve from a level 2 earth-time animal to a level 3 being of experience? How did he become a vehicle for a higher self? The answer in simple terms is through the development of thought. From the basic instincts of survival and reproduction, the animal's brain began to develop more complex patterns and began to be motivated by love, albeit on a basic level. Then gradually, that thought developed to a level beyond survival and became transitional thought. The thought energy that transcends time and space and links to the cosmic energy of the universe and the laws of karma. Zed said, on some of the planets of experience that have been going much longer than yours, 2, or in one case 3, beings of experience live in harmony with each other. But the evolutionary process wouldn't allow another one on this planet for the moment, for you would surely destroy them, just as you are trying to destroy each other. That's something to think about, isn't it? He said, as an example, look at your dolphins. They are highly evolved mammals who in future could well become beings of experience, whose higher selves might like perhaps to enjoy the levels higher than 2. But that is only if you allow them to survive. The time has come in your evolution to be responsible for less forms of life on your planet. Perhaps now you realize that you are just a part of the universe and not, as some of you think, the center of it. Show more concern. He said, how is karma experienced in the lives you lead? What are the most important points to consider? Firstly, the interaction between individuals and groups. Everything we do on an individual or group basis to each other must surely affect our karma in our thoughts and our actions. Second, interaction between yourselves and the animal kingdom. The thoughts and actions that you show towards others that share the planet with you, and their reaction to your thoughts and actions must also affect your karma. Third, the interaction between yourselves and the mineral kingdom. The actions you show towards the content of the planet must also affect your karma, and in exactly the same way as with all plants and to the very planet itself. You wrongly assume that only you individuals interact with each other, when in reality everything on the planet has a part to play, including the very planet itself. You see, therefore, the wisdom of becoming conscious of everything you see and do, and of evaluating your actions and the consequences they may have. Not difficult to understand, but very difficult to practice against the background of the material ambitions you set yourselves. Do you now see how precious everything about you is? From the smallest insect under your foot to the very earth itself. Each is a manifestation of universal energy and the love inasmuch as that from the rock to yourselves, you are all part of the same energy. A final point for you to consider. On the blackboard of life in indelible choice, I beg your pardon, on the blackboard of life in indelible chalk, your mind writes its choices. Ultimately, your higher self has to account for those choices. Such is the way of karma. Such is the way of universal law. I'll see you next time.